welcome to what is this? An update?
Debriefing?
That's a great word. Debriefing of GenCon 50 from theplayersaid.com. We're going to go through some of the different things that we did, some of the cool people that we met, and some of the cool stuff that we bought.
Some of the stinky people that we smelled. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to be positive.
So, it's Saturday today. We did Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
It's about 3 o'clock. I was tired, frankly.
And we've done everything that we'd wanted to do.
Right.
So we just, no need to drag it out. I'm like, my back's hurting from carrying all this stuff around.
I'm tired.
So, let's see. On Thursday was day one. We went in all fresh.
Day one.
Nice and early.
Day one.
Got in and we sat down. What was the first game we demoed was... Oh,
that's a good question.
it was Pandemic Legacy Season 2.
Pandemic Legacy.
I was able to sit down and play that. And it was a very, very interesting experience. They had a really cool display. It was all in kind of a pop-up gazebo tent. And they had a bunch of, props and stuff to make it look kind of post-apocalyptic. You can actually read, I kind of took a ton of pictures and wrote a review. You can go and read that on theplayersaid.com.
It's ticking over nicely. It has some nice views already.
Yeah, it's a cool little... It was interesting what they've done with Pandemic, because it was very, very, very familiar. But it was different. It was very different. And I think Grant's going to show you, they had some of the coolest advertising I've seen for a board game. They had Band-Aids or plasters.
That does not look good.
No. And they're fully branded. It says Pandemic Legacy Season 2 on them. It's got a cool biohazard sign. They just had a huge stack of them, just giving those out free.
And Z-Man Games, I apologize. I have 5 children. I took about 10 of them. So you can come after me.
But yeah, that was the first kind of really big game that I was able to sit down and play, and that was fun. Really glad I was able to do that.
And it's ironic, if you've seen our reviews, I think when we finished Season 1, it took us 18 times to get through that.
We were done with it.
We were done. Our video, while we enjoyed it, I think there were some really neat parts. I think overall, we were really done with it. So I was shocked as heck when I look over and I see Alexander
I'm the one that was
waiting in line at the tent. And you were the first people in line after the first 4.
There were 4 people sat down, and I was right there to demo it next, because I was like, I know it's going to be extremely popular,
and I want to see
what they're going to do.
Yeah, because they've been pretty hush-hush about it.
Yeah, which is cool that they've been able to keep that under wraps for such a big production.
But I look over and I see Alexander standing there, and in my head I'm like, what are you doing? And then I kind of said, well, I got to get over there because I want to see what it was. And you can read Alexander's thoughts, but I thought, well, it's the same thing, really. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's kind of, you do a little differently what you're doing, but the mechanics of it's still Pandemic,
right?
And they had to keep it that,
so they could call it Pandemic.
They can call it Pandemic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I would like it to be a bit more different. But
right.
I'm like, well, then it won't be Pandemic anymore. So they had to keep it in that way.
But I thought it was fun. I read Alexander's thoughts on it. I think it was interesting. I think people that really like that game will really get into it.
And I think, from what the board starts very small. I think that game has even more legacy to it than Season 1 ever did. I think there's so much more to explore to
you're not going to see the same board.
Yeah,
it's going to be totally different.
Was cool.
So that was interesting. That was our first game.
Yeah.
Another big game that I demoed on the first day was Immortals by Queen Games. Alexander did not get to play that.
No, I was playing a role-playing game. You were doing that.
But for those that don't know, Immortals is a dudes on a map game. You put cubes on spaces to have area control. But the kicker in that game is there's 2 things that are kind of unique. There's a light and a dark side to the same world. So you're putting dudes on the light side. If they die, they go to the dark side, and vice versa. And then you're using a Wallenstein cube tower to put your cubes for fighting into it, and what comes out is what determines casualties. Very interesting game. And actually, they were only selling it for $60. I should have got it, because it's probably a $70 to $75 game retail. But that was fun. That was a big one I demoed that day. Another one I covered was Merlin, the new Stefan Feld from Queen Games as well. Alexander didn't demo.
I didn't demo a lot on Thursday, frankly.
Right. But that one was fun. Not going to talk a lot about it. I'm going to do a quick write-up on it. Was very glad that I got to do that. I saw Man versus Meeple, a couple of other people while we were sitting there. So that was cool. Enjoyed that.
What else I did on Thursday?
You know, all kind of runs together. It just really kind of runs together.
It's true.
You did Harn.
Yeah, I did Harn, so I did three hours worth of role playing.
Wasn't it 4?
It may well have been.
Yeah, I think it was 1.
Whatever it was, it was fun. Had a good time. Had a fantastic GM who's actually kind of a family friend. So we were able to jump on his event. I had a great time doing that.
Yeah.
I was able. I think on Thursday I picked up. We went by the Cool Stuff Inc. They have their sale racks of some of it's ding and dent, but some of it's in pristine condition. I was able to pick up reds from GMT for like $25. It was,
and that's the Russian Civil War,
Russian Revolution
between
that kind of stuff.
1919 and 1920
I think it's 1918, 1921.
Okay.
I don't know if that's and it's red versus white.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to play that one.
Another thing that I picked up the first day, and I'll go ahead and show it to you, but I'm going to do an unboxing. But Sheriff of Nottingham Merry Men expansion. For those that don't know what Sheriff of Nottingham is, it's a card game where you're trying to bluff and smuggle or legally ship certain goods past the Sheriff of Nottingham to score points. This simply is 5 mini expansions in one, and it adds to the game. So I picked that up. One of the cool things I got was a neat little Sheriff mini that goes with it. This was $10.
Yeah, use that instead of the
cardboard standee. But it was nice. Also picked up.
So it came with that, right?
Prince John's Pig promo, which is adds some new depth to the game. So that was probably my big buy on the first day, and I was excited about it. And actually, this sold out, I think, by the end of the first day.
Oh,
I think they had...
Yeah, because Brom went back to get it and they didn't have it.
I want to say they had maybe 400 copies. That might have been too many. But the line when I went immediately, it was around the booth. And then I also picked up the Hellas and Elysium expansion for Terraforming Mars, which, if you don't know, is only $20. It's a board, a double-sided board. So you, in essence, turn that game into 3 games because it has 2 other new boards that have different goals and objectives and milestones. So those were my 2 big buys. They weren't new games, but they were expansions. Yeah. But I was glad I got them. I haven't opened Sheriff yet, but I was glad I got those.
Yeah. And so Friday... Did we play Firefly on Friday?
Yes, we played
Firefly.
Firefly.
That was the big one that I was like super looking forward to.
Yeah, Firefly Adventures, Brigands and Browncoats from Gale Force 9.
Because we tried to play it on Thursday, but
couldn't
it was
get
like
in.
5:50, and they were like, it's closing. So we booked it there and played that. Because if it's Firefly...
I like it if it's Firefly.
Although there's some other bits and pieces I haven't played. They have like a dice game and a card game I could... But, it's
shiny dice.
It's miniatures and it's a little co-op adventure game. Obviously, I'm going to give that a try. And it has the cool foldable card scenery.
3D scenery,
and they didn't show a lot necessarily in the demo, but we blew through the scenario. We won it quite handily. So you have a stance. So you have a casual side of your player board where you're trying to like sneak in and do stealthy things and like be inconspicuous. But then if you have to start killing, you flip over to the heroic side where you go in guns blazing and
your abilities improve.
Yeah, your shooting abilities improve, but you might lose some more passive.
Right.
You lose your capacity to heal yourself at times,
right.
Things like that. And so that was really neat. You switch out your 2 miniatures that you have, so there's a little bit of a dynamic on the board as well. And
that was fun.
It's scenario. There's a long campaign apparently, so I'm definitely buying that when that comes out.
And the interesting thing I'll do a write up on that one. But the interesting thing I want to experience about that is the different cards.
Yeah.
There were different cards. Some were equipment. Some were weapons. Some were there vehicles? I don't think there were. Yeah,
it probably is at some point.
But you're able to get those and acquire those and just improve your abilities. Very similar to the Firefly game from Gale Force 9, where you're going around buying stuff and allies, and you get different skills. But once again, we love Firefly, and I also enjoy co-op. I think it's fun. That one we blew through it pretty quick. We hit it like every roll we had to make, we made. I think we did everything perfectly, but it was definitely fun and definitely worth it. I think that comes out in October, I want to say, to retail. So that'll be interesting. One that I definitely want. Either you'll buy it or I'll buy it, and we'll try to get
whichever one doesn't. I'm sure the other one will end up buying it as well.
Right. One of my biggest disappointments from Friday, and this is, I'm a little bit upset about it, but I probably shouldn't be upset about it, is The Thing, Infection at Outpost 31, is a game from USAopoly. And they had literally one table with one demo going. In order to get in that demo, you had to, at 10 a.m., race your way without running, because you can't run. They'll take your badge. Race your way to the USAopoly booth and try to get in line and get your name on that list.
And they don't tell you that.
Yeah.
So we waited around, waiting for the table, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, this
you got to sign up for this."
Like, put a paper sign up saying
Right.
that's the case. Oh, we're going to sit there for half an hour waiting.
Right.
That was fun watching other people play because now I know how to play that game.
Right. I saw it in action.
Awesome.
Yeah, it looks very fun.
And we booked it in Saturday morning.
And still didn't.
There was 25 people ahead of me, and not a single one of them were able to sign up because it was booked. It was just that was poor logistics. And I understand you got to have people to run it and stuff, but I'm like,
well, and the only comment I would have about that is looking around the other games that they had, they were kind of wasting the table space with those other games, and maybe should have had one or two more tables
for a game
of The Thing.
That IP never been
Right.
done in a game before that I'm aware of, and
Right.
to do it in a game like that from a company that big. Man, put out more games.
Yeah.
'Cause they,
Put 2 or 3 demo tables, and maybe they had events. I'm sure they had events.
but
Us as the blog, we don't do a lot of events because we're trying to get around and demo a lot of different
trying to
games and experience
volumetric.
them. But that was very frustrating. Once again, we tried a couple times, we couldn't get it, and I didn't get to play it. I saw it. I took pictures of the minis. They're beautiful.
and the game looks really, really good.
Well, it's-
Hidden identity.
Yeah.
Moving around, trying to suss out who's the imitation.
Who's the thing? Yeah. Yeah, who's the imitation? and the imitation has different versions of itself. So if you've seen the movie, the famous head with the legs is one of those minis, and it's just kind of looks cool.
Yeah, and it grows and grows
and
grows.
runs around. So that was one I was really looking forward to, and I was unable to demo it. So I was disappointed, frustrated, a little bit mad, frankly. Not because I'm anybody or anything, but I was like, I wanted to play that. So we'll get it in October and go from there.
That day I picked up Test of Fire, which is Bull Run 1861. It's a Civil War game. I'm English. I've got absolutely no connection to the Civil War whatsoever. But it was $8 from Mayfair Games on their super duper sale rack. And it looks like it might be card driven, kind of to an extent.
It's probably all cards.
You have order cards, and there's a board.
There's a board, okay.
Bits and pieces, but never heard of it.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to give it a try and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, and there was another one called Shiloh. It was Test of Fire Shiloh. Wasn't it? The same?
It had a different name, but it was 1862, different battle.
Yeah.
I have no idea what it was because I don't know anything about it.
Right. It was Shiloh, I'm pretty sure. But it was $8 at Mayfair. They've got a shelf that's kind of older games that they just try to get rid of.
We'll crack it open, we'll play it, see what it's like. $8 if it's a loss of kids.
Well, and I saw one on there that I also wanted, Entdecker, and that's one it came out maybe, I want to say 5 years ago. I demoed it at GenCon like 5 years ago. It was really fun, and I wanted to get it. It was only $15. I wish I would have got it, but at that point I'd spent so much money. It was time to move on. Also on day 2, I picked up Spartacus, a game of blood and treachery. It's a miniatures-based card game with some intrigue and some different cool things. So I got that for $20.
And you've played that before.
I have.
Right?
I played this with my brother, and I really enjoyed it. And it's miniature, so you're literally gladiators in the arena fighting. You roll dice. There's different abilities. I think you'll like it.
I will. That sounds right up my alley.
There's some intrigue with the cards, some different things. So, but $20, this has been on my list for a while because I liked it after playing it with my brother. So when I saw it for $20, I couldn't resist. So $20, bam, got it. Add it to my collection.
Something else we did. That was the day we played. I'll make it this right. Edge of Darkness.
Yeah, the new kind of card crafting game from AEG.
And it's in the same world as Mystic Vale, and it's also a similar concept from the card crafting standpoint. And it was, you're working through your hand, doing a bunch of actions. It's worker placement in a sense, but not everything needs you to place workers. But that was a large part of the economy. I've got my trained guys and my untrained guys who are unavailable, trying to get them trained. Then you could go out and fight monsters, and that also had a cube tower as well,
which was cool.
And that's coming to Kickstarter this year.
I wanted to say this fall.
What they said, and there's a lot of different bits and pieces. So that was it was interesting from the card crafting because I've not done that before. The game seemed like it was quite long as well.
It was. We only got through 3 or 4 rounds.
Plays 9.
Yeah.
And there's just because you craft all those cards, you only have a hand of 3 cards usually.
Yeah.
You had 4, and you can get more and more. Once they get full up, the person over here is going like 12 things.
Yeah.
And then this person's gonna do 9 things. This person's gonna do 8 things, and then I might get a turn.
Very slow.
And then there'll be times where I had a really bad hand of like 3 actions. I'm like,
Yeah.
So there was, I don't know.
Lots of downtime in that game.
Tim
Our friend Tim looked at me and he's like, "What's wrong, Grant?" I was like, "Well, I'm just trying to get the game." I was kind of bored. It had a lot of downtime, frankly. Just a lot of downtime.
Yeah, but if you like the card crafting, I thought the
neat
artwork
mechanics.
was great,
Yeah.
and I don't know,
Kind of cool
ties
theme.
in well to the other one. I've not played the other one.
Yeah, kind of a cool theme.
Yeah,
the designer was doing the demo.
Yeah, and he explained it well.
I can't remember his name, but I'm sorry.
But that's coming to Kickstarter soon, so if that's something you're interested in, watch out for that one, I guess.
Another thing we did on Thursday night that we forgot to talk about on Thursday because we're now on Friday. Probably one of the cooler things is when the hall closed at 6, we went to the Rio Grande kind of game playing area, and they had about 40 tables with 40 different games laid out on those tables. And you just sat down and you could ask guys questions and play a game. We played Coal Country from Rio Grande, so it's a coal mining game. Kind of a very different game. It had a lot of paradigm shifts for us. Very math-based, very heavy math.
That's a mathy game.
We played that for a couple of hours. But the thing I wanted to say, and I want to say thank you to Rio Grande Games, they had like a full dinner snack thing going on for free with sodas and
it was like
roast beef
and vegetables, like hot served,
like
people serving
rolls.
it up. That was cool.
So that was I wanted to say thank you. I thought that was really a neat gesture and a great opportunity for people after 6 p.m. to sit down, play some games, and have
it was
a
all
snack.
free. You just
it was
walk right
great.
in, find
no
a table,
event,
sit
no
down.
reservation.
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff I really enjoy about GenCon.
Yeah,
is you every so often you find a place where it's just like it's just like playing the games.
Yeah,
playing a game we'd never played before, sat down with a rule book, played the game, start to finish. It was really cool.
And the game, I think that designer also was there, wasn't he? Yeah, he came over and talked to us.
Yeah.
I think that game had a lot of greatness to it, or a lot of interesting things. It was just too math heavy, and I think we didn't get a majority of it until it was kind of too late.
Yeah, there's like a way to manage an economy in order to get the money at the right time. And I ended up the game with like $51, and then Tim had like $150, and you had like $108.
I think the irony was I had 110 going into the last round. I ended up with 125 and lost by $30.
That game
wasn't
is
even close
for a very specific audience. I think if you like the mathy games like Power Grid, if you like playing the 18xx games a lot,
you'll like that.
You'll probably get it a lot better than I did, because I was like, sweet, I built my mine, I had it all fully funded, it was great, had all the resources in there, but like I just didn't have any money, and you went by having money, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, our mines looked great, but in the end, you didn't have any money.
It's just a totally different style of game.
Yeah, but thanks to Rio Grande, that was awesome.
Seriously.
And frankly, next year I'm going to look for that area again, and we'll just plan to go in there at least one night and play a couple of games. There's several games that I want to play. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but that's a great way to do it. So then we came to Saturday. This morning we got up very early. We had an interview demo of Combat Infantry from Columbia Games. Go ahead, Alexander. You can.
So yeah, we met with Tom and Grant Dalglish in the morning. They were demoing,
great guys, by the way.
They were demoing. They had a bunch of copies of their prototype copies of Combat Infantry, because this just got funded on Kickstarter, and it should ship out in September, is what they said, with
Right.
all the final up-to-date components and things like that. Had a blast playing that. It's a block war game, but it's tactical World War II, and it's mostly Normandy and France and stuff like that. So you find in the hedgerows and in the thick forests and small towns and bridges and things like that. That was a very fun game to play. There was they're still polishing some of the rules, I think. So they were asking for a lot of input
Right.
in tweaking the nuances and the details of the game. So that was really cool to sit down and chat and really work through some of the more complex situations that can arise. Because the rules are fairly simple.
Yeah, there are only 10 pages of rules.
But it's like, if you interpret this rule this way, it has
Yeah.
these ramifications. But if you do it this way, it means a totally different thing. And so having that discussion with the designers was really, really fun to do. And we actually, later on that day, we shot an interview with Tom. And he's the main brains behind that game. So we'll get that uploaded so you can kind of see, we'll pick his brain a little bit.
Get a
about
look
how
into
it
some of
works.
the elements of the game. One kind of war story from that. It was pretty funny. It's a game based on rolling 10-siders to hit, and one of the times I think I was rolling 3 or 4
It was
10-siders,
3 10-siders.
and I had to roll ones
You had to roll ones.
to hit.
And you had to roll two ones.
I rolled 3
Yeah.
and was able to destroy the tank that he had holed up in a city that was going to really do a lot of damage to me. And it was just one of those moments. I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
And that's
what those
and
games
you're
are
like,
about.
that will never happen again in that
Nope,
game.
nope.
But like,
I'll never even try it again.
That's that
now that I
heroic
know it.
moment that they like.
Yeah.
That's the
Well, those soldiers would have gotten a Congressional Medal of Honor.
well, if they did die.
Or a Silver Star or something. Right. But some of them did die. But posthumously. But anyway, they would have got like Silver Star. And because, man, it was awesome. It was one of those thematic moments.
Yeah, it's what you make a
theatrical
movie about.
moments.
It'll never happen
Yeah.
again, and you can't be mad that happened to you because,
Right.
like,
It was awesome.
yeah, what were the odds? That was sweet.
Yeah,
That was
it
cool.
was pretty cool. So that game was fun.
Yeah, that was
I'm
really,
looking
really
forward to
good
that.
time. Yeah.
I think you're going to buy that. That was on my War Game Watch, I think, for last month. And that was on my top 10 games I wanted to demo. So I was glad that we got to do that. Then we followed that up with a game of giant killer robots.
Yes.
From Weta Workshop.
Yeah, so they were a New Zealand-based company. So what Weta Workshops is they're actually like a special effects and prop design company. They work on movies and films.
District 9.
Lord of the Rings. They got some huge projects that were
Chappie.
really, really creative.
Didn't he say they were on Elysium as well, or did something?
Yeah, yes. Then they had some stuff there. So they had some really cool props from some of those movies, like that were actually used. But they made a game called Giant Killer Robots, and I backed that on Kickstarter early in the year. And that should come in December. And we sat down and played a big demo of that, and it was awesome. Like
Yeah, it
I
was.
backed that as soon as it said giant fighting robots. I'm like, okay, I'm in.
And I was skeptical. While I like miniatures and I like games that are tactical and you're fighting, I was kind of like, oh, whatever. This is another Alexander special, and it's going to be totally doofy. But yeah, frankly, I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
And it is, right?
I want it. It
is.
but it was fun. It was fun.
It is very comic-y and pulpy and cheesy.
Yeah.
It's these giant robots smashing buildings and firing ridiculous lasers and missiles at each other. It would make a great cartoon, frankly.
Yeah.
But like, I felt like it was very fast-paced. We kind of moved through that. There would maybe, but it's huge.
Well, and you were saying, like, we had a deck of 30 cards, I believe,
Yeah.
and those cards represent your life. So once your cards are out, then you're dead. And you were saying there's like double that many cards, so you're going to be able
I think
to
it's even more than that.
choose and kind of build your style of deck. I think that really is going to be a fun game.
Yeah, and the game. The box is like this big. That's not even. I wish.
Yeah.
That was me overstating how big that box is.
It was huge.
It's massive. And then there's all the expansion stuff
Yeah.
from Kickstarter as well. So I've got to find somewhere in my house to put that. But I had a blast playing that. My brother-in-law, and my father-in-law sat down. We all played that together. It was very fun to play together at the table with everyone.
I think that kind of covers the major. We played some other games. One other one I played was Joan of Arc, Time of Legend.
I wish I'd have
a
played that.
miniatures-based game that actually has two modes. One is more of a tactical army war-based game, and the other is more of a storytelling RPG. And I tell you what, my brother-in-law played it. We loved it. It took about 45 minutes for the demo. That is a game that I will consider kickstarting because the minis are very cool. The gameplay is very deep. And it's just cool. They had Joan of Arc fighting a werewolf, and it's based on legends. So they took some historical legends and they created these scenarios, and they had these people fighting a werewolf, which
And they also
is
swear
kind of cool.
because apparently it's based on document.
Right, it's based on people's diaries and letters.
I swear there was one.
So I don't know. It was just really interesting. It was a French company, Mythic Games. They've partnered with Monolith, which made Conan, which you can see up here. I don't know. It was fun. I enjoyed that one. I'm glad I got to demo that one, and I'm looking forward to maybe playing that
I'm
in the
looking forward to
future.
playing that because their stuff was beautiful. I was excited to do that one too.
One other thing we didn't really talk about, if you look at our stuff here, we're getting ready to start up a Pathfinder campaign. We haven't played probably in a year consistently, where we maybe a little longer than that. I'm gonna DM and run a campaign. So we went through and we bought some different little sceneries, and we got some new dice and got a new battle mat, so I have a big one so we can do the main stuff, and then this will be like a little temple or
Just to like pull out.
yeah. So we're getting ready for that. I spent a little bit of money on some of those things, probably more than I needed to, but really had a good time. I'm tired. Like I said, it's 3 o'clock on a Saturday, and I'm pretty exhausted. But once again, GenCon every year is fun. I look forward to it every year. We go to Origins as well. I enjoy GenCon much better, although you're thronged with people. It's so crowded. Today was so crowded, you could barely move.
It was sold out, and you could tell it
Yeah,
was sold out compared
yeah.
to other years. It was very, very, very.
Now, Thursday and Friday, while it was busy, I didn't feel like I was thronged
Saturday
by people.
was
Today
miserable.
was pretty bad, and that's why we left a little bit early. And we will not be going back tomorrow. We're done for the weekend. But I look forward to it every year. I enjoyed it. I think it's a good opportunity for us to have some fun, get some information on new games, get some new games, and get ready for the next year. Now the next one is obviously Essen, which we don't go to Essen. We're not big time, but we can at least look at it and try to see some of the games that are coming up.
So yeah, that's everything from GenCon 50-ish. You'll see tons of previews from games, of written things with tons of pictures.
Over
We're
the
going to do a
next
lot
month.
of stuff over the next month. So you can look into that in a bit more detail. Had a total blast, and appreciate you watching. We've been theplayers8.com.